On Tomorrow's World Today, we explore the cutting-edge advances that are shaping 4 different worlds. The world of inspiration, where the wonders of the natural world amaze and inspire us. The world of creation, where ideas come to life from traditional arts. The world of innovation, where ideas and inventions move us all forward. The world of production, where innovations are mass-produced to improve our lives. From Inventionland World Headquarters, here's your host, George Davison.
Hi everybody, I'm George Davison, and in our last episode, we began to explore sustainable copper mining. You see, copper is the linchpin of our energy transition, powering renewable technologies and electrifying transportation. With over 65% of its global usage dedicated to electricity, its role is pivotal. So let's go rejoin field reporter Greg, who's in the world of production in Arizona to further explore how copper's at the forefront of our quest for a greener, more sustainable tomorrow.
Copper plays an incredibly important role in our transition away from fossil fuels. It's a great conductor of electricity, which makes it an amazing partner for solar panels and wind turbines and other versions of renewable energy. And that's why we're here at Freeport-McMoRan in Arizona. I'm going to meet with Corey Stevens and learn why copper is a conductor of change. Corey, why is copper such an essential part of the clean energy transition?
Yeah, so copper has a lot of unique attributes, but first and foremost is its ability to transmit electricity. It's a highly efficient conductor. It's got great thermal conductivity characteristics. The electrical application accounts for 65% of the use for all copper on an annual basis.
So I know that there are other conductive metals that we could use, gold, silver, or aluminum, but they don't have the longevity that copper has.
So copper has a super long life cycle. For example, if you took all the copper that was mined from the early 1900s today and looked at that in a combined state, about 2/3 of that's still in productive use today.
That's amazing. So a house that was wired up and built maybe, say, in the early 1900s could essentially have the same wiring in it today and still be in use.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, Corey, everybody is talking about EVs these days. Tell me about copper's role in the electrification of transportation.
Yeah, so copper is a key enabler in allowing this technology to function. All the major components of an EV, whether it's the battery, the inverter, the wheel motors, and the wiring that connects all those major components, that's what makes this technology come alive. The copper intensity of an EV is about 3 to 4 times what you would normally see in an internal combustion engine. Then you have the charging infrastructure, and you can see from the cabling here, you know, this is packed dense with copper, and it really leverages that conductivity that we were talking about before. And then within this housing, there's additional copper features that allow it to connect to the grid and supply that energy to the vehicle.
And then the grid itself is another part of that copper intensity, because the copper is used to transfer that power to the charger and then from the charger to the vehicle.
Right. And so with the grid, the way that the energy makeup is today, EVs are 50% more efficient than an internal combustion engine on a carbon basis. As the grid continues to decarbonize through renewables and otherwise, right, that's only going to make EVs that much cleaner as time goes on.
Right, so as time goes on too, one of the things that we have to consider is that as much as we would like to believe that our vehicles will last forever, we know that they will not. So when this vehicle has outlived its usefulness, it's got a lot of copper in it. What's going to happen to all that copper?
Right, so that's the beauty, is that copper is infinitely recyclable. Right? And so as you get to the end of a life cycle for your EV or other equipment, you can take that copper out and reprocess it, and then it can go into a number of different other applications.
That's great. Well, I know another really intensive copper application is in the creation of data centers and server farms and cloud creation. So I'm going to head down. I'm going to talk to Kevin from Oncore Wire and find out more about that. Thanks, Corey.
Great.
Kevin, I was just talking with Corey about data centers and how incredibly important they are. And they are important, but they can't operate without what you do. Tell me about your company.
That's correct. We're Oncore Wire in McKinney, Texas, and we make building wire, and we use copper to make that building wire, and copper is what supplies the power to data centers. And I don't know that people really know the impact the data centers have on our daily lives, but from the time we wake up in the morning until we go to sleep, we are constantly engaged with a data center in some way. It's an incredible new phenomenon, I think, that we've even seen over the pandemic, where people have remote learning and those types of things, social media. It affects everything in our daily lives.
Okay, well, tell me a little bit about the infrastructure within that data center and how your company deals with that.
So we make the cables that bring the power into the building and then throughout the building. So it's basically a giant building with computers all over it. And those computers work 24/7, and they've got to be powered in an adequate way, and that's what we do. We supply all the wires and cables that go and power the data centers.
What are some of the biggest challenges then that your industry faces?
Supply chain is huge. We saw the issues that went on through the pandemic, and those who couldn't get their supply of whatever it was that they make, they couldn't serve their customers. And so Freeport-McMoRan has allowed us to grow incredibly during the pandemic, and the agreements that we've got with them and the friendship that we have with them really allowed us to do what we do, which is deliver wire faster and more complete than anybody else in our industry.
Okay, well, let's talk a little bit about that. Sustainability and making sure that things are responsibly produced has become important across all industries. How has that affected what you do?
It really has, and we all know the world is becoming greener. Everybody's trying to do what they can to make the world a better place to live. And sustainably sourced copper, in our case, is an incredibly important thing, not only to us, but to the people that we sell it to. So again, with that partnership with Freeport-McMoRan and our partnership with the Copper Mark, which basically is a stamp that says this is responsibly sourced, those types of things are allowing us to be able to get bigger and bigger jobs and expand our market share.
Excellent. Kevin, thank you very much.
Thank you, Greg.
In the rapidly evolving landscape of tomorrow's world, copper is essential for the infrastructure of the future, powering our renewable energy grids, enabling the electrification of transportation, and facilitating the growth of a digital and interconnected world. I'm at the Freeport-McMoRan Tech Center to explore how copper is a cornerstone of progress and sustainability.
You know, Bert, when most people think of AI, they probably don't think of copper right off the bat. But here we are. Here's another example of copper being a vital yet invisible part of a new technology that is becoming more and more important to us every day. So tell me a little bit about copper's role in enabling connectivity and communication between AI servers and storage systems.
First and foremost, AI has an insatiable demand for processing and for data. To be able to produce the amount of processing required that modern AI algorithms ask for to solve these hugely complex problems, we have networks and networks of these servers in parallel and data centers running in parallel. And all of those are interconnected, powered by copper, cooled by copper. Without copper, AI really doesn't exist today.
Is the conductivity of copper itself, is that an important part of how this is working and why copper is such a vital part of it?
Copper is the most efficient mechanism to drive that power and that cooling.
Okay, well, as we look at AI and big data and look at how those jobs are exploding in the new information revolution out in the world, you're actually powering your own revolution within the mining industry.
It's not just the programmers back in the data centers or in computing labs, but it's people in the field who are responsible for cabling sensors, configuring sensors, talking into networks. We have wires running through all of these mine sites that are cabled, that process the data and send it back to these cloud platforms which actually produce the AI. We have data analysts and data engineers who craft the data and structure the data to where it's reliable, it's cleansed, and our data scientists actually work with our operations teams to develop insights from the data iteratively to learn more and more about what's going on inside our business. It really has given us foundational new insights on how we process and how we operate.
None of that really matters if you don't have the folks in the field, if their teams are not being able to use that data in order to be safer, more efficient, and more productive out in the field. Tell me a little bit about how that works.
So a big part of our focus when we work with the teams in the field are to stay focused on what are the problems they're trying to solve. What are the problems that we haven't historically been able to solve as an industry? We work with the folks in the field who are at the front line, at the face of the problem, who can describe what's actually going on, and who, if we provide the right insights and the right tools, can actually change what's actually happening in the field, which is what in the end is required for AI to really have an impact for our business.
Excellent. Bert, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So Josh, as we talk about big data and AI and all of these technological advances that have happened over the last 50 years in the mining industry, it really has changed the face of mining, but the actual face of mining is changing too. As we walk through your facility, I see a lot of women in working positions.
Yeah, it's interesting. Historically, we've always had women in mining, but it was more in the administrative areas of the business. We recognized it was an opportunity to incorporate them in different parts, and it's been really, really successful over time. Speaking of successful, I'd like to introduce you to Sonia, a longtime Freeport employee who's in our electrical apprenticeship program.
Hi, Sonia.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Well, Sonia, tell me about what you've been working on.
I was working on the motor. So we do a preventive maintenance service on it. We pull off the cover, check the brushes, make sure that they have even wear, and blow out as much dust as we can from the compartment.
Okay, well, Josh says you're a long-time employee. How long have you been with Freeport?
I am second generation. I have been with the company for 27 years.
Oh, that's excellent. But now you're in the apprentice program. What would make you want to make that change after all that time?
It was a good opportunity for me here in this industry or in mining. Freeport does offer a lot of different trades. It's a world of opportunity.
Excellent. So when you're done with your apprentice program, what will your title be?
I'll be a journeyman electrician.
You're a second generation miner, so I'm sure your family's really proud.
Yes, they are very proud.
Great, well, we're gonna let you get back to work.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Josh, let's get out of here.
Trades in the copper industry encompass a range of essential skills, from mining and extraction to refining and fabrication. These skilled professionals play a major role in every stage of the mining process. I'm at Freeport-McMoRan's Sierrita operations with Andrea Vicari to explore how careers in copper mining are another way that copper is shaping tomorrow's world.
Andrea, one of the most exciting things that I have learned in my time here at Freeport-McMoRan is how many different kinds of jobs and opportunities are available. It's really kind of staggering.
There really are. If you want to be an environmental scientist like me, if you want to work in big data and AI, if you're a tradesperson, if you want to be a mining engineer, right? We have just a whole plethora of jobs here at Freeport. Our workforce is 74,000 people strong. And you can feel good about working for us, right? We are helping the energy transition, but we're also working really hard to reduce our impact over time.
So let's talk a little bit more about that. What is Freeport-McMoRan doing to reduce those carbon emissions, become more eco-friendly?
About 3 or 4 years ago, we started to work on our global climate strategy, really looking at, this aspiration to be net zero emissions by 2050. How do we get there? So the first stage of that really was to start to set targets. So how are we going to reduce the amount of emissions we produce? We've done that now. We now have 4 targets that cover 100% of our emissions globally, which is just amazing. It's something we're really proud of. Now, a part of that whole process was to say, what do we need to do to get there? So one of the first things we started focusing on was renewables. Down at our Cerro Verde mine in Peru, we actually just signed a power purchase agreement that, along with our other agreements, will enable the operation by 2026 to be completely fueled by renewable energy. And that's huge. That's a big accomplishment. It's one of the largest copper mines in the world. The other thing that we're working on is integrating more and more renewables here in the United States. We also have a huge mine in Indonesia. It's in the central Papuan province, which is on the island of New Guinea. It is 3% of the world's copper. There's nothing small about this mine. We actually utilize coal power there. We have for many, many years due to the need for reliability, consistency of supply, right? You have almost 28,000 people working there. You need a huge amount of energy on an ongoing basis. But we recognize we can't keep doing that forever, and we set a target, right, to reduce our emissions there. So what we've done is 2 projects in the last few years. The first one is our dual-fueled power plant. Dual-fueled power plants can take 2 different kinds of fuel, biodiesel and natural gas. Currently, we've just commissioned the plant, and it's been commissioned on biodiesel. The opportunity, though, to bring in natural gas led us to start investigating, could we actually replace the coal with natural gas? So we're actually in the midst of finishing up a feasibility study on bringing liquefied natural gas to the site to replace that entire set of coal generation, which would really be remarkable and would really enable us for that 3% of the world's copper be much lower carbon intensity.
Well, I mean, that's really important because as you look at transferring to renewable energies, more eco-friendly ways of doing that, it's important that the process by which you get those ores out of the ground isn't creating more emissions than you're trying to mitigate. So tell me about some things that Freeport-McMoRan is doing across the entire industry to reduce those emissions.
Typically in the industry globally, when you're dealing with what we call a sulfide-bearing ore, you mine it, concentrate it, smelt it, and then refine it. And the concentration and smelting steps are massively impactful. They use a lot of energy. So what we've been working on for many, many years is with other types of ores, so non-sulfide bearing ores, we do something called solvent extraction and electrowinning. That enables us to completely eliminate the concentration step and the smelting step, which really enables a much lower carbon footprint for all. So what we're trying to do now is crack that nut of sulfide-bearing ore leaching. And that really, I think, is something that could transform the industry because it could really reduce the environmental impact, not only from a carbon perspective, but from an overall perspective.
That's amazing. So you're basically going to be able to get twice as much copper out of the same chunk of land that you're mining on.
Absolutely.
When we explore the future of mining, experts need to focus on tackling emissions and transforming how haul trucks are operated. By transitioning towards electrification and autonomous technology, mines can enhance efficiency, safety, and sustainability, which all play a huge factor in how the mining industry will evolve.
Tell me about something that you feel might be coming in the near future that could maybe transform the industry even further.
You know, one of the biggest sources of emissions that we have is our haul trucks in our mines. So if you imagine a big open pit mine, you've got all those big, huge haul trucks moving or overburden around every day, all the time. So that's a big use of diesel and a significant source of carbon emissions. So one of the things we've been working on is how do we move towards electrification or some other solution for those haul trucks. One big project that we're working on now is to transform our Baghdad operations, which is an open pit mine here in Arizona, to autonomous technology. So what does that mean? That means those trucks will not have a person in them anymore. They'll be driven remotely. So what does that do? Well, it not only increases efficiency because of the way we're able to run them and manage them, it also improves the health and safety impact. It reduces the risk significantly because you no longer have a human inside driving, and maybe that human is now inside a room working that technology.
That's really important to think about it, because if your goal is to work towards energy renewable sources of energy, eco-friendly sources to get that copper out of the ground, it's pretty important that you lower your emissions while you do it.
It's something that the whole industry is working together on. We have something called the International Council for Metals and Mining, where the leading copper producers and other minerals in the world get together, and we really look at how can we do this together. There is nothing that can be done without collaboration that is large scale in the mining industry right now, and so we really call it the era of collaboration. At Freeport, we're very, very proud to be helping lead the way on that, and we're really, really hoping to accelerate the future in a very responsible way, really reducing the impact of all those extra tons that we have to produce.
Andrea, this has been amazing. Thank you so much, but I've got to get back to Invention Land. Would you show me out?
Absolutely. Thanks for visiting us here at Freeport-McMoRan, Greg.
Hey, Kathleen, welcome to Invention Land.
Hey, George, thank you. Thanks, it's great to be here.
I'm so glad you're here. I was hearing all this good news about technology you guys are working on, and then somebody sent me this picture. It's very intriguing, but I don't really know what it's all about.
You know we're big copper producers.
Yes.
Copper is essential for the energy transition. And as we look forward, we need more and more copper. And so what our team has been doing is we are using new technologies, new tools that we have that we've never had before, and looking to see if we can extract more copper from what was previously thought to be waste. And we're having great success with it.
Well, you must have a heck of a team if you have figured out a new way to get copper out of old, stockpiles.
Our team is very innovative. We look for ways to get as much copper as we can out of the resources we have sustainably and responsibly because it's so important.
I like hearing that. And but we are here at Tomorrow's World today. So how about we chat a little about the future too?
Well, the future's bright with copper. The more copper that we produce, the more it's going to help this energy transition to make for a cleaner, more sustainable, more connected world. And it's a world we all want to be in.
Kathleen, I can't thank you enough for coming in here and explaining that to me.
Thanks so much.
And remember, tomorrow's world is where inspiration and creation drive innovation in production. See you next time.